Hello, survivors, and welcome to the State of Decay 2 stream. I'm your host, Geoffrey, and today we're going to be talking about Hotfix 30.1 and all of the other work that we're doing to fix the issues that you reported that you found in Update 30. Along for the ride, or actually to participate and help me understand what's going on, is Rohan Plummer, our customer advocate. How you doing, Rohan?
I'm doing really well today. I'm so sad that you're sick.
Yeah, I was talking about that a little bit before the episode started. I am sick as a dog. There's a chance that this might be a little bit of a shorter stream if I don't have the energy to take it all the way to the end. But we're going to talk more about Rohan and his job later on, because it's been a while since we've gone over what a customer advocate is, and what these people are doing behind the scenes. And so I'd love to give Rohan the chance to sort of tell you about his job, and we can all understand each other a little bit better. I've also got Brent Fitzgerald here, the art director on State of Decay 2. How are you doing, Brant?
Hello, I'm doing fine. And I'm mildly sad that you're sick, but, you know.
Mostly schadenfreude, though?
Yeah.
All right.
No, I'm sad that you're sick. I hope you get better quickly.
I hope I get better quickly, too. That really would help me a ton. All right, so last week, we released Hotfix 30.1, which is a very small patch that came out in the wake of Update 30. And I wanted to quickly go over what is in that hotfix, what we actually fixed, and it's actually a pretty short list. First off, we fixed the fact that the Bloodmobile had stuck around for a little while. Those of you who have been here watching our stream know we did this massive charity drive with the Red Cross that included adding a special ambulance into the game that you could call in over the radio called the Bloodmobile. And when we removed the Bloodmobile from the game when the charity event was over, we only removed it from the branch of the game that was about to go live. We didn't remove it from sort of the core branch of the game. So when it was time to bring the update out, it went right back into the game again. So that was a mistake. So we've cut that out again. You can't get it anymore. And the other big change, which is actually probably a more important one, was we had a crash that was going on. Basically, there was an older bug where certain places, especially in Trumbull Valley, could cause an outfit item to go into your supply locker instead of going into your closet. And we fixed that bug, but some people had long-standing old supply locker outfits just sitting there from that old bug. And as a result of that, the new sorting system, when it came in to the supply locker with Update 30, had no idea how to handle those outfits, and it would just crash the game. So some people had these basically time bombs sitting there in their supply locker waiting to crash their game on us. And we were, totally freaked out about that, and so we fixed that one as soon as we possibly can. So right now, if you have been delaying coming back to the game because you were experiencing crashes in your community from opening your supply locker, please come back. Hotfix 30.1 is in, and you should have a working supply locker now. So that is Hotfix 30.1, but in the wake of Hotfix 30.1, we've got actually a whole raft of other fixes that we've been working on. Hotfix 30.1, with that fix to the supply locker crash, was really, really urgent for us to get out because there were a lot of people who were just unable to play the game. So we had to get that one out as quickly as possible. But there were actually a lot of other things that we wanted to tweak and fix in the wake of Update 30 that we're still working on right now. So you can expect, we don't have a date for it, but you can expect that there's going to be another hotfix sometime down the line. And we wanted to talk through the known issues that we've found or that you have generally reported to us, so that we can let you know we are working on these, and you should expect a fix of these sometime in the future. So the first one we should bring up is actually the one that is the hardest for us to fix, which is Floaty Backpacks. Rohan, can you describe? So I have not actually experienced the Floaty Backpacks in the game. Can you describe what's actually going on with these things?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're seeing just general, if someone goes to crouch and you could see that the backpack is completely lopsided from the NPC, or sorry, from the character model. And so when they go to stand back up, it looks almost completely detached. That's some of them. Some of them are just straight up floating off rip. Some of them are when you pick up the rucksack for any supplies or anything like that, it is just kind of hanging off of the player. Or if a player starts running, it is following behind them, but not actually attached to the character model. So that was and our community is definitely into the immersion portion of the game. So it's definitely a ton of tickets coming in about it, and mostly about it's completely taking me out of the game type of things.
I don't know what's going on, because that happens to me when I go hiking every time.
Well, so actually, one of my La Coalición, one of our community leaders, basically, he sent us a video of somebody invented a backpack that reduces jostling by mounting the backpack on a frame, so the backpack moves in isolation from you, and it actually looked just like the bug. And so he was like sharing that video with us. It got a big laugh around the audience.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's
it
a
was
real
hilarious.
backpack. That's a real thing.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we're just deepening the immersion by simulating that type of backpack. But so the problem is that's actually a really difficult bug to track down. We've got some leads, we're following up some possibilities, but we can't guarantee yet that we're going to have a solid fix for this in the next time we release a patch. Just because this is one of those weird bugs. If those of you who've been with us for a really long time might remember our audio apocalypse bug from around like update 3 or 4. And so yeah, Brant is like looking traumatized a little bit from that one, because like one of the things we did was we attempted, the problem was it was really difficult to just make that bug happen on purpose. And so when you can't make a bug happen on purpose, you try to fix it, but you don't know if you actually have, because you can't run through a set of reproduction steps and prove to yourself that you've actually fixed it. So we actually, I think we released, I don't remember what number it was. It might have been update 3. We released and said, hey, we think we've got a fix for the audio apocalypse bug. Try it out and see if it's fixed. And we got a raft of responses saying, no, you did not fix the bug. So we're like, okay, sorry. And so we spent the next update actually figuring it out. And I believe it might have been Joe Swarner, or maybe it was somebody in QA, found finally a set of steps you could go through to definitely make the bug happen every time. So we actually knew when we had fixed it. So this is one of those where we might ship a fix that we think is a fix to this bug. We can't guarantee it's going to be fixed though. We're still working hard on it. And if we do find a surefire solution, then great, we'll put it in there. But if we can't for sure, then that might stick around a little bit longer. And we apologize in advance. But there's a bunch of other fixes that we can make to the game that are actually a lot more solid. One of the complaints that people had quite a bit was about caliber sorting in the game. And actually, I think I can pop over into the game here and sort of show you what we're talking about. I think we actually talked about this a little bit in the previous stream we did. But basically, there were a couple of little problems with the way that we were sorting ranged weapons in the supply locker, where not only, like right now, the fact that I've got a stack of light bolts and a second stack of light bolts, that causes some disruption with the ordering of all the items in here. But also, we were prioritizing basically, in some cases, I think, the type of weapon over the caliber of weapon. So what the situation you were used to a long time ago, where when you highlight a particular ammo type, you can see a cluster of all of those weapons that use that ammo type in the supply locker. So if you're like, okay, well, I've got a ton of 5.56, I should go and look at the section of guns that are all 5.56 and grab one that I can afford to use. That got a little bit disrupted in update 30, and so folks have gone back and like refactored the way that the sorting works so that sorting by type should actually cluster all of the calibers together the way that it used to. So that's one that we're working on. And also, we also fixed some issues with some of these sorting screens resorting multiple times. Like as you added things and subtracted things from the supply locker, sometimes things would resort and get scrambled around. We're also working on a fix for that. And finally, in the supply locker, people were also running into some performance issues. And like Rohan and Brent, like we've been sort of. I think we need to come up with some like amazing, ridiculous test save, because we will try out, like when we made these changes to the supply locker, we will try out the game a bunch of different ways. But the thing we can never quite try out is what a save game looks like out in the wild. And some people out there had literally thousands of guns in their supply locker, which I think is something we didn't test. I don't think we tested, like we might have tested hundreds of guns. We didn't test 10,000 guns. And there's some folks out there who had so much stuff in their supply locker that basically the game would just grind to a crawl whenever they opened it up. So we've had another look at it. We've made some fixes. Hopefully those of you who've got that problem should see that resolved. And let's see here. Oh, here's another thing that I can actually show you in my game. So last time we did this official stream, I actually brought this community. I legacied with this community, and I brought them into Cascade Hills and settled them. I actually settled them at Lock and Key, and then I realized I wanted to move somewhere else, and so I've since moved them over to More and More Warehouse. But one thing that, because this is a community that legacied and then continued, a problem happened at my base, which is my command center is back down to level 1. I had a maxed out command center with this group for ages, but now it got knocked down to level 1. I believe that happened to everybody else too. That's a really common bug, isn't it, Rohan? Like, it pretty much happens to everybody.
Correct. We've seen a few of them come in for sure. Trying to explain it as well, because it does specifically only happen to legacy communities.
Yeah, so it's not going to happen, like if you move maps or something like that, it's not going to happen there, but you will lose some progress in your command center. So for instance, if you recruited a programmer just to get your command center all the way up and then exiled them or dismissed them, you can be kind of screwed over, because now you've got your command center back at square one, and you've got to level it up again, which I'm going to do right here. So that is fixed. We found the problem. That is fixed, and it was just a simple miscommunication, and so it was pretty easy to resolve, as far as I understand. I shouldn't say that people's jobs are easy when they're not here to tell me that they're not. But anyway, so that should be fixed. At some time in the future. There was another issue where characters' traits, particularly, I believe it was Rohan. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was new characters were having their traits show up without any effects. You see the green and the red text on here that's telling you what the traits do. That they were showing up with no green or red text and no effects. Am I describing that right?
Yeah, and sometimes they were just coming in blank, right? Like
just
there
no
would
traits
be
at all.
Nothing there. Yeah, like nothing is there, but they clearly should have them. So that's another issue we were running into as well.
Okay, yeah, so that one was an obnoxious one. At first, I was hoping that it was just the text is missing. It's fine, but we'll fix the text. It'll be good. But I think that actually some of the traits were showing up with genuinely not having their intended effects. So you get that special trait you've been looking for a long time, and then it doesn't actually do anything, which is very frustrating. So, so Zoe put some time into that, fixed that one, and also fixed some translation issues we were having around traits and stuff like that at the same time. And she also fixed a problem with morale debuffs. And so, when you are running around with your community, you've got this morale list, which I can't navigate to for some reason, that is basically characters will, for whatever reason, get these morale buffs put on them. And most of them are temporary, or they only last as long as the cause is around. But some of these were following characters into the legacy pool, which means they would emerge from the legacy pool with these on them, which would be kind of a problem. And so that bug is also being worked on. We should have a fix for that sometime soon. There was another one that I had not experienced, which was with mods. Let me actually quickly run over here and see. Okay, let's see what kind of weapon mods I've got down here. Do I have multiple mods of the same type? All the way to the bottom of the list. Yes, okay, so I've got a couple of professional breaks all stacked up. And what do I have? Okay, I've got an advanced break here. So I'm going to take that advanced break off. Let's assign a professional break onto... I've never tried this before. I don't know if I'm going to get the bug or not. But you assign a break onto this weapon right here. And now if I take the same exact break and try to assign it again... Okay, so it looks like it didn't happen to me, because I did actually get the original break back. But apparently it was possible to get into a situation where you would actually destroy one of your breaks. You would just keep assigning breaks, and they would be going into a black hole and disappearing for some players. So that is apparently fixed. So like at least at the build that we've got at work. One thing that folks were noticing is the fact that they were getting messages about assault hordes attacking people. So those of you who are in the public test realm would be aware that assault hordes are like a thing that is involved with our new upcoming refactor of infestations and hordes and how they work. And so seeing that in the core game was uncomfortable, because those features have not moved over, but some of the notifications from them had. So players were like, oh no, what happened? Did we get the new infestation feature by accident? And no, you didn't get the whole infestation feature. You just got those notifications, and it was uncomfortable. But they should be gone sometime soon. And then I think a lot of the other stuff kind of falls into sort of some broader categories. There were some other... the brightness and gamma screen was broken. The screen where you like adjust the brightness back and forth and figure out how the game should look good on your monitor. That screen was broken, and we're fixing it behind the scenes over here. There were also a few more rare crashes that weren't nearly as common as the supply locker crash. We've also found some of those and killed them. We're also working on a lot of just minor UX issues, user experience issues, where the user interface was just not doing what you expected it to. Like, for instance, going back after you're looking at the details of a survivor in the legacy pool, if you back out again, and look at them. They would the cursor would be on the wrong survivor, and so now we're changing that to keep it consistent and make it easier to navigate. Stuff like that. And finally, there's also some translation issues, but those are done. Look, I gotta give an extra special thanks to La Coalición for letting us know about all of these translation issues that he and his community have been finding in the Spanish version of the game. We have shipped those problems off to the team that does localization. That is done out of house, and so I'm not dead certain how long it's going to take to get better translations back. But so I can't promise that. I'm not promising any of these for any particular date or time. But I'm especially not promising this one for the next hotfix because we're not sure. When we're not doing it ourselves, it's a little bit harder to make specific promises. But there you go. So there's a lot of stuff in the works. We've heard a lot of your messages, and we just want to let you know we are working on these things. And though we can't give you because some of these bugs are still kind of up in the air being worked on, we can't give you exact dates on when a hotfix is going to be able to come out. We do want you to know that we're working on them. We're aware of them, and we've heard your messages mostly through Rohan, whose job it is to receive your messages and pass it to the rest of us. We've heard them, and we are working on them. So let's see. So we've gotten a bunch of questions from the chat, but I've also why don't we spend just a sec answering some questions from the chat, and then we'll move on to interviewing Rohan about what his job is. So we've got a question from TwoFace777 who asks, any chance you guys will change how many characters we can save? And I assume you're talking about in the legacy pool, how big the legacy pool can be. So the reason why the legacy pool is at the limited size that it's at is because originally we actually had no limits. So when the game first shipped, like version 1.0, it had no limits at all in the legacy pool. And what happened was there's actually a limit on how large your save in the cloud can be. And because people just kept completing legacies and saving characters and saving characters and saving characters, some of them got their save files so big that the game literally couldn't save anymore. And that was a problem. We couldn't have the game unable to save. And so we had to apply a limit to it. So 50 seemed like a safe limit. And so far it's been serving us well. So we're not feeling like a huge urge to try to increase that because of the potential negative consequences. So you might have to be kind of judicious about who you save where. Luckily, you do have 5 active save slots now that you can, have people actually living in active communities. So that you do have a little bit more room for characters than you had in the past. But yeah, so that's the reason for it. So, I hope you'll forgive us being a little bit cautious about making changes there when last time the consequences were so dire. Let's see here. So La Coalición asks, is there any plans to improve the sorting system on your base locker, specifically on the ammo side? So I think I actually answered that question already in the main thing, in the previous segment, La Coalición. So yes, we are working on that. We are going to get them sorted by caliber again. So hopefully that's going to work out great. We do have a couple questions that are actually about your job, Rohan. So I'm going to skip those so we can talk about them a little bit later. Interesting. So Pepe Le Pew, I think is how we're meant to pronounce that name, asks, out of curiosity, why do they speak a lot of Spanish in the game? They're okay with it. They were just curious. That's actually kind of interesting. So basically the way that our writing for our characters worked was, our lead writer, Andy, would write lines for a couple of the voices in the game. But then he actually hired a bunch of contract writers who came from a lot of different backgrounds and from a lot of different communities and asked them to write the voices of the characters who lined up with sort of their life experience. And so we had different writers writing different characters' voices. And so for one of our voices in particular was meant to represent people who grew up in the American Southwest, who maybe spoke a lot of Spanish in their day-to-day life, and we had a writer who wrote, who was familiar with that community and could write, in that kind of sort of mixed dialect. And so a lot of our lines are in that mixed dialect because that was the kind of sort of background we were trying to represent with that character. So yeah, I think it put a lot of effort into trying to sort of represent a broad swath of the American experience, and that was one of the examples. Let's see here. Oh yeah, so we've got more and more questions about the supply locker and how it's organized. And I understand, like, especially those of you who've been playing the game for a really super long time, the supply locker can get extremely full, and the more control you can have over it, and the more sort of you could, like, the better you can sort it, the better you could potentially filter it, the better off your experience is going to be. And so the step that we took in Update 30 to try to make the supply locker a little bit more manageable at scale was one step, but we have been thinking about other ways that we can improve it, and we've been listening to your feedback as well. I cannot not make any promises about when or how we would continue to improve it, but we've definitely gotten the message from you folks that that you would like to have, now that we've taken one step down that road, you'd like to see us take more steps and make that thing a lot more manageable. So we've totally heard you. So those of you who are popping that question up here, we definitely are hearing your voices, and we want to see what we can do. But again, especially as someone who's not on the team, I can't make you any promises on exactly what that's going to be. Let's see here. So Adam Survives wants to know, was the random number generator worked on the game? Because it seems like it's different. That's a thing that's kind of a thing that we often get. Every time we release an update, folks, the problem is our game has very, very random outcomes. A lot of aspects of our game use a random number generator to determine what is going to happen to you. And it's a very spiky experience. Sometimes you'll just hit a huge pile of zombies. When I was preparing for this stream, I ran into a situation where there were like 4 ferals just jumped on me out of nowhere for no reason. And that happened right as I was beginning the game. So it'd be very easy for me to think, oh crap, update 30 just added 1 million ferals to the game, because the first thing that happened to me afterwards was a feral invasion. But actually, like, it really is just so things are so random that you're always going to run into weird spikes and valleys throughout your experience. And so right after an update, everyone thinks something major about the game's random number generator has changed. It's a very common experience, but I think it really is. Occasionally, it actually is a real problem that we've accidentally introduced. Most of the time, though, it's just sheer luck of the draw that you just had. You had some kind of random experience and it felt like the game had changed, when actually the game has always been able to randomize you, and that's just how it works. All right, let's get started talking with our guest. So, this is Rohan Plummer. He is a customer advocate for State of Decay 2, and the first time we ever talked on the stream about customer advocacy, it was actually with Joe Swarner. It was before he even worked at Undead Labs. He was a Microsoft guy who had been assigned to our team to do customer advocacy for our game. And we brought him in and we interviewed him, and later on, we ended up hiring the guy full time, brought him in, made him the co-host of the stream. And so he's had a storied career, moving on into being on the design team now for State of Decay 2. But the customer advocacy still has to happen. Just because, we're not going to ask Joe to do like 3 different jobs at once. And so we hired a new customer advocate, and that is Rohan Plummer. How are you doing, Rohan?
I'm doing really well. I'm really loving being here right now.
Well, we are loving having you, because your job is so essential to the process whenever we release an update in particular, but also just in general. Having someone like you on the team is just like an indispensable part of our process. But I should probably ask you to explain to the audience what your job actually is. They can probably figure out some of it from the name customer advocate, but a lot of them weren't here when Joe explained it for the first time. And so we should let you, sort of pitch them on like what your job is and what it's for.
Sure, absolutely. I'm still figuring out what I do here every single day. So I would say it's a little bit like anyone familiar with like the customer service side of ticketing service. That's a big part of it, obviously. A little bit of QA, that's also a part of it, and a little bit of marketing as well, right? Being a part of this stream is a part of my job, right? But definitely something I volunteered for. It's something that I enjoy, and something that it's very much like, I don't know, it's just like I get to be flexible and kind of dip my hand in and wear many, many hats. And but a good portion of it is just looking at those requests coming in, those tickets coming in, and I have a huge notebook full of all the issues that you guys write in about, and just very much like then I go to our folks who work on the game and say, hey, these are the most significant things. Here are the game-breaking things. Here are like the immersion things. Here are like the scripting things, and this is how we should maybe prioritize going forward. So that's really a big portion of my job.
So yeah, so when you talk about the tickets coming in, where they're coming in from is support.stateofdecay.com. I put a link above your head right there so people know what we're talking about. So if you go to support.stateofdecay.com, one of the options you have there, among several other things, is to lodge a support ticket. And so when a support ticket, when somebody, clicks that link and they say, okay, I'm going to write a support ticket, what happens to that ticket? They write up, oh, this is what's happening to me in the game. Maybe they attach some media or something to show you what's going on. And that goes to you. What happens next?
What happens is we depending on the issue being related to us, it's usually, we'll ask a few troubleshooting questions. We'll see if it's something as, nefarious as, the crashing that occurred and, you know, really, really prioritize what is really important in that moment. The tickets do come in through a secondary system, for those who might be familiar with like Zendesk. So it's just very much like constantly getting bombarded and trying to manage all of it as best as we can, here on our end.
Okay, so you're like gathering all these tickets, sorting them. You're reading every single one of them. Like you are the one person
Every
that
single
is reading every
every
single one of these
single one
things.
of them.
It's not like we've got like a phone bank like full of people or something like that. It's just you. And so yeah, so you're sorting through all of these, you're prioritizing them, and then I remember when I was the design director on State of Decay 2, we had this regular weekly meeting with Joe back when he was, you know, in your position, where basically he would just bubble up to us whatever the most important stuff that was going on with the audience. He would always like bring everything up and advocate, and that's like part of why your name, why the job title is what it is. He would advocate for the customers. Like a lot of people, and people should bear this in mind when you're writing a support ticket in. You're not writing directly to say me, like, or Brant. Like if you're mad at one of us for something that we did in the game, your ticket is not going to us directly. So all of your urges to like rant and rave, they're not hitting us. You're not damaging us at all. What you're doing is sending them to Rohan, whose job it is to be on your side. And so like your entire job is to basically be the voice in the room that's saying, hey, the customers are experiencing this and we need to take it seriously. And if we're all off on our own little world worrying about the features that we want to build and we're up in dreamland, your job is to say, no, the customers said this. And we don't get to sort of move on and ignore that stuff. So you're on their side.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always, even for every person who curses me out in 3 different languages, I am, at the end of it, I just try and understand that, you know, I try to understand how much art means to somebody and how it can impact someone, and have a lot of empathy and go like, I don't know if this is the only game you play. I don't know if this is how you unwind. I don't know if, you know, this game helped you get through a messy divorce, or, you know. So for me, I because people love this game, and it's so refreshing to see this studio just be so community focused, that I really internalize it and embody it and try to go like, yeah, you just cursed me out in Russian and it's cool. But I do understand that, hey, you're actually having a problem. And my job at that point is to just, you know, try and de-escalate you from maybe never curse at me again. But also to just go, I recognize that you have a problem, and here's if we already know about it and we're working on it, or here's like, oh, that is so serious or so important to you that this is on the list of things that we have to get to as soon as possible. I know if anyone's been in the chat, I've been really focusing on the accessibility side of like what's happening in the game. And I definitely see the stuff with the translations. I definitely see the inability to, you know, change languages, or at least change subtitle languages. And I can definitely see where it feels very frustrating for something that seems very basic, but, you know, maybe wasn't considered, or maybe, you know, there's just different ways to approach it. And so that's been like a huge focus of mine since I've been here. And I will continue to like work on things like that whenever I see stuff like that, because that's the stuff that I'm passionate about. That's a part of my values.
I love the way you described your thought process there, because I think, you know, if somebody was writing like a job description for what you're doing, they should probably include like the patience of Job like among the qualifications. But it sounds like you've actually thought through like, you know, like a way to think about the feedback that you're getting on behalf of the rest of us on the team, that sort of like it gives you the ability to sort of like to step outside of the feeling of like, oh, somebody's yelling at me, which can naturally, I think in most people, engender sort of a hostile, angry response, or a frustrated or a sad or depressed response. But I love the way you described how you sort of separate yourself from that. You're just like, okay, let me think about this person's perspective. Why are they upset? Why are they angry? And once you understand that, that gives you the power to like to let it roll off your back, and then you can just sit there and be a professional and talk them through the problem and get them a solution a lot of the time, which I think there are so many. I mean, your job absolutely requires it, but I feel like everyone's job would probably get smoother if people were better able to do that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a definitely a learned skill from prior employment history. To definitely, I just don't let things like that bother me, because I know that in that moment it's just a real emotional, visceral response, and that at the end of it, it comes from a place of you just really love this game, and I can't be mad. I can't be too upset at the passion. If, you know, it gets a little too crazy, I might put you in timeout for a little bit, but for the most part, it's always just acknowledgement and just letting you know, like, I get you. And it's never, we try to avoid as many of the generic macro emails, like, as much as we can, like, if we can. It's always going to be, I will always try and personalize a response as best as I can. And just let you know, like, this is not a computer behind this screen. This is not an automated response. This is just me. It's just me and the occasional helper trying to help you out.
Yeah, I think that is actually something that, one of the reasons why we wanted to have you on here, partly just because your job is interesting and it's cool to hear your perspective on it, but also, like, I think, people in our community should see the face behind this process. A lot of the folks who are engaged with this stream are our most engaged players, people who are most likely to be reporting bugs. And I want them to understand, like, you are a real human being on the other side of this. A couple of them, like, I did get one comment in the chat. I don't really know the answer to this. David Devine was asking about, like, saying that, like, that I think that they had at some point gotten, like, a generic form letter back in response to a support ticket. Is there a generic form letter that comes out when you first submit the ticket, but then there's a more personalized response later once you've engaged with it and figured it out? I don't know how it works. I'm just asking.
If they're talking about, like, just a kind of like a generic response, like when the crashing was happening, just to give perspective, when the crash happened, we got an influx of about 1,000 tickets. So as much as so if you got a response to it where it's just like, hey, we are very much aware of this and we're working on a fix, that's kind of the only way. That's the only way I can respond to you, because I don't program. I'm not in the trenches with everyone else who is working so hard and tirelessly to make sure that the crashing stops happening. So all I could do at that point is just let you know, like, hey, we've received your ticket. We are very much aware of it. But there's really no new information to give you or a workaround, because it literally is just happening. Yeah. Now, I was looking at the question, and the way I interpreted it was they were asking about, like, ticket number and then, like, additional information. And I'm not sure if that was something that Zendesk did before. I'm currently working in the beta of Zendesk, so I don't know if that is something that has been taken away and that was something that was already there, or if that's something I'll need to manually add myself. But I'm more than happy to make it a lot more formal if it helps you feel better about it and makes things a little more organized. Because for us, the ticket numbers and things are usually attached to those responses, just for perspective.
So you all just saw it live, folks. Rohan just received feedback from someone, and he just listened, took it seriously, and offered them a solution. Go to support.statofdecay.com and send Rohan tickets if you're running into problems. That's the kind of response you're gonna get. Thank you, Rohan, for giving us sort of the outline of your job and how it works. We've got a few more questions in the chat, and one of the so. Brent, we've got a pretty common question here, which I think I hear this from La Coalición all the time. And so I don't know what the best answer for it is, but the question is basically, how hard is it? And we get lots of how hard is it questions from the audience sometimes. How hard is it to add new textures for weapons in the game? Like, if people wanted to have variant versions of certain weapons in certain colors and things like that. I feel like, as I understand it from the outside, you and Mark and Dan and other people who've worked on this, worked on the weapons, you get a lot of very specific requests from people all the time, right? The sheer scope of it is huge. You want to talk about like what it would entail to, like, satisfy everyone's specific requests?
So we never did set up a system to swap materials that were on firearms or melee weapons. So what that entails is having to set up a new data table and basically make a duplicate and then create a new set of textures for any new weapon. And then each one has to go through the whole process of audio and testing and all that. And at this point, we really don't have the people on the project anymore to affect a lot of that stuff. So it's relatively easy to do.
Yeah. Making the texture isn't the hard part. That's actually, if anything, might be the fun part for you and Mark and Dan.
We could make and have made thousands, right? But actually getting those into the game, making sure that they're working correctly, is something that we just don't have the personnel for anymore.
Yeah, so if we had set up the system so that each weapon had sort of an independent texture that could be swapped on it, on the fly, then yeah, adding textures to the game would probably be fairly easy. Probably just be completely content driven. Artists could probably do it entirely by themselves, without needing to tap into the data and stuff like that. But because we've set it up so that basically each time your gun looks even slightly different, it has to be an entirely different gun. It has to be tested separately. It's got its own gun data. It's got its own everything, and it becomes a job for several disciplines to all collaborate on. And yeah,
look what happens even when we did have we've been sort of slowly losing people off this project for a while, and look what happens even when we do have some staff. Like we still have people asking about one of the guns that we introduced in Trumbull Valley that got replaced, but if you had an old version of it, it's still broken and will be for all time.
yeah.
So, we don't, like I said, we don't have the resources that we did before, and things like that slip through. So,
and it would also mean that there would be a whole nother additional gun that would stack up in the loot tables. It would stack if we tried to do I don't know, like a G17 in 40 different colors. Theoretically, we could, but then there would be 40 G17s in our loot table, and you'd have 40 of them in your supply locker, or whatever. It's the game is just not set up for that kind of variety to sort of just easily show up.
Yep.
So, by the way, Rohan, Adam Survives as W. Rohan the Advocate. So you've got an official name here in the chat.
I appreciate that. I've been reading the chat. I appreciate you guys. I'm trying my best.
knowing Adam, he's probably already made like a giant wall-sized wooden template shield with your Rohan the Advocate's crest.
Yes, Adam Survives is one of our craftiest community members, and he's actually, I think I might even have one of his pieces somewhere, but I've got a green screen behind me so you can't see it. I think I might even have one of his pieces in my office. So, yeah. By the way, I'm driving around here in Cascade Hills trying to remember where the heck the gas stations are, because the one gas station I could call to mind is already empty. I've completely forgotten where they are. Oh. Oh well.
And David, don't worry. I took no offense to your question. I don't mind answering questions.
Yeah, exactly. If you're going to ask anybody a possibly uncomfortable question, Rohan is the one who's most practiced at answering them. So yeah. All right. So one thing that I was actually thinking of doing, I should probably, since I have no idea where a gas station is because I don't know anything about my own game, I'm going to head back home because I was actually thinking of making another legacy pool swap, which is something we can do after update 30. So I'll head that direction. Let's see here.
Okay.
What?
Ed Blake says people who are represented by Rohan are Rohirrim.
Okay. So in the wake of Lord of the Rings, Rohan, how many of those jokes do you get?
I didn't actually really start hearing the jokes until the movies came out. So that would have been middle school for me. So it was very much, I was really excited to hear my name in a movie. Same as anytime I see, I will be the first one to say I have an ego. So the minute I hear my name in anything, I get really, really excited. And then I tell people that my parents aren't Lord of the Rings fans. I'm just West Indian, and that's just a
normal name. Yeah,
very typical.
Yeah, so I had a similar experience because people often, looking at the spelling of my name, which is Geoffrey, people often their initial response is to pronounce my name Geoffrey, and so Game of Thrones was uncomfortable for me, having the worst person in that entire world apparently sharing a name with me, though he did actually not. So yeah, you could definitely do a lot worse than the Rohirrim. So
I saw someone post the JoJo reference, and yes, that's why Diamond is Unbreakable is my favorite arc in the entire JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, because there's a character named Rohan Kishibe.
Gotcha.
Who I love.
Okay, I have not gotten into that. I think that my kids' friends are into it, but I have not actually watched any of that. So, all right, so I think what I'm going to do is get back to base, make a little swap here, and then I think we might actually wrap this stream up a little bit early. Sorry to folks in the chat, because normally we do this for an hour, but unfortunately, as we mentioned at the very beginning, I am sick as a dog right now, and I think I'm running low on my vamping energy. So I hope that you all can forgive me for that. But I do want to at least get back and sort of show off one of the benefits of update. The problem is, okay, here's my delirious mind is literally incapable of navigating Cascade Hills. Those of you who've been actually watching me desperately trying to get back home and utterly failing to make the right turn at any point along the way. I did kill a feral though. That was pretty good. It's hard to kill ferals with vehicles. Let's see here.
We just want you to feel better, Geoffrey.
I appreciate that.
Or shall I say, Geoffrey? That's how I want to say your name every time. Geoffrey.
Just because it's you want to sound just a little bit posh, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
No, I was gonna say that you saying it like that just makes me think of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Oh, right.
Absolutely.
So E5 a Pie guy asks, will the legacy pool call-ins be increased to 10 survivors? We can only call in 9. So actually, that is directly related to what I was going to show you here. So I have actually finally found more and more. So yay, we're here. So yeah, so let's go look at that. So right now, my community has got 9 people in it, and I've got a problem, which is I've been really wanting to build an auto shop right here, because we've got, as you can see, an active bounty up there that says I need to make vehicle upgrades. And so I need to have an auto shop to do that. But unfortunately, I don't have anybody with the mechanic skill or the auto mechanic skill. No kind of mechanic of any kind in my community. And so what I need to do is recruit somebody. But the problem is, if I look at the radio options, recruit legacy survivors, I can't. I'm at maximum survivors because I've got 9. And there's a reason for that. And it's a little bit elaborate to explain, and I'm probably not going to fully explain it right now, but basically, we've got a soft cap and a hard cap on our population, which basically means you can technically have up to 12 survivors in your community. But we've got a lot of limits placed on that, because it's possible for, basically, if you've got a recruit mission active at any given time, and then you hit the limit, that mission will stick around. That mission will absolutely try to shove characters into your community when you complete it. And so it's possible, because of the way the mission system works, it's easy for the game to accidentally give you up to 3 extra survivors that are above and beyond the normal limits. And so if we just had a normal population cap at 12, you could get up to 15, and then there's a bunch of systems in the game that all assume you only have 12 characters. And so they would all break if you got up above 12. And it would be a disaster, and we don't want that to happen. So, what we have is we set a hard limit at 12, but a soft limit at 9. So nothing in the game will get you above 9, so that if a mission is left over, it still has 3 slots to fill you up to 12. This is a silly way for it to work. We shouldn't have done it this way. But we did, and we're kind of stuck with it for a while, unless we want to uproot a bunch of systems in the game and redo them to be flexible and handle a larger number of characters. So, this is a thing that, I think everyone on the team recognizes that this is a thing that could be a lot better, and we would love to fix it. We just need to find the right opportunity, and I can't promise we will. We need to find the right opportunity where it's worth sort of spending the sheer amount of time and risk, because, Update 30 came out, you saw there were bugs in that, because when you're making changes to enormous systems, it's very easy for a bunch of little problems to sneak in that you never noticed. To take on the risk that it would involve to uproot all of those systems and redo them for a larger number of characters, it would be rough. And so, yeah, so that is why we've got the limits the way we have them. But luckily, because we've got the ability to put people out to the legacy pool, what I actually think I'm going to do is I'm going to grab Marshawn here, because Marshawn and Adam have got the same community skill. They're both metal workers. So I'm going to grab Marshawn, and I am going to send him to the legacy pool. So let me go find him. Where are you? Where are you hanging out, Marshawn? There you are. Come here. Come here. Where are you going? Where are you going? Come back. Come back. Man, you cannot catch Marshawn. Okay, here we go. Let's talk to him. Hey there, buddy. Head out to the legacy pool. Okay, so now Marshawn is still with my game. I can still get him back anytime I want to. He's just going to the legacy pool. But now, I believe...
He's going on vacation.
He's going on vacation, exactly. So now, I can recruit a legacy survivor. So I'm going to select that. Okay, and so now I'm going to look by community skill. I'm going to sort everybody by community skill. So we got electronics people, programming, computers, construction, cooking, metalwork. I'm looking for engineering and auto mechanics. Ah, there's engineering. Auto mechanics has got to be somewhere close. There we are. We've got a couple of auto mechanics here. We've got Fraser and Chris. So I think I'll grab Fraser. She hasn't had as much experience. And so now Fraser should just be in our community. Yep, she's already here. She's just here with us. Let's switch to her, actually. Check out what she's got. Oh, she brought a whole bunch of useful stuff with her. A bunch of, oh yeah, okay, I'm gonna have fun sorting through all of that. But the most important thing she brought with her was her expertise. So now I can actually build my auto shop. And it was that quick. Like, that's the thing that I love about this feature, is that once you've been playing the game for a while and you've built up a store of characters, you've got so much flexibility for sort of dream teaming, sort of building, you know, the set of skills that you think that you need in order to fulfill your community dreams. So there you go. Oh, hey, a question from Something Biscuit. Has Plague Cure been bumped up to the top of the supply locker yet? That is a very good request. I think it's a common request, and I'm not sure where that lives, because we are aware of that request. I don't know where that lives on the priority list, but we are aware that, yeah, people would love to have really easy access to Plague Cure, because sometimes, I don't know if there's another thing that can be in your supply locker that you need to get as quickly as Plague Cure. So putting it right at the top, yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I thought we had done that.
Yeah, so I think right now it's not, but it could easily be that we intended to do it and it got messed up by some of the other stuff, because there's various shenanigans going on inside the supply locker right now. But yeah, I think right now it's actually kind of in the middle. Like, you've got all the throwables and stuff up here, and then you've got, it used to be at the bottom of the list, and I think now it's in the middle of the list here, with a lot of the other health things and books down below it.
Yeah, I very distinctly remember in the earliest meetings about restructuring the supply locker that was like the first thing that was brought up. It's like the ability to put that at the very top.
Yeah, so it seems like that probably is something, may have been an oversight, or it may have simply just been the consequences of a bug, as so many things are with the supply locker at the moment. But yeah, thank you for reminding us of that, though, because that's really important for us. Because, you know, like, for instance, you know, one of my favorite UX decisions that anyone made, I forgot whose suggestion it was, but the idea was that when you interact with the trunk of your vehicle and you've got a rucksack on your back, highlight the rucksack first, so it's easy to instantly put it in your vehicle. We always do that, and it's sort of in, like, the fact that I always know that, I can trust for that to happen, is such an invisible benefit, because so often, like, I'm carrying a rucksack on my back, I hear a feral coming at me, and I'm like, I gotta get rid of this rucksack as fast as I can, so I just run to my trunk, dump it in, and it's just so quick, because it's just automatic. And little tiny choices like that, like putting the Plague Cure at the top of the list, would be another choice like that, where it's just, you just make it effortlessly easy to do a thing that everyone wants to do all the time, but doesn't necessarily think all the time that that's what they want to do. It's some of the cleverest UX decisions, I think, end up in places like that. All right, I think I'm at the end of my rope. Thank you, everybody, and thank you so much, Rohan and Brant, for coming in here and chatting with us. Oh, one thing that I should call out, by the way, keep an eye on our social media feeds. Watch us on, you know, Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that, because there's a coloring contest coming up, and you're going to want to know about that. So definitely keep an eye on that. A bunch of work has gone into it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So keep your eyes open, pay attention to us. We want to let you know about that. And let's say goodbye to our guest. Rohan, thank you so much for coming in here and giving everybody the skinny on how support.stateofdecay.com works. And if you've got problems in the game, go send a message to Rohan, and send a nice one. Rohan's a human being. Rohan, how are you? Yes.
I would appreciate it. I would appreciate it. Thank you. I was glad to be here. I'm glad to be here for sure.
Same here. And then Brant, of course, always lovely to have you. The co-founder of the stream, and my better half, my work better half in many ways. It's good to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks again, everybody. As usual, we love you for coming by. And, you know, we keep trying to make this game better. Sometimes we trip, sometimes we fall. We always pick ourselves up, and you're always there to help us out. So thank you. And Rohan, welcome to the team. Geoffrey, get better and go to sleep and drink water.
Oh yeah, actually, I noticed earlier today that this water bottle actually does remarkably well with the green screen. It's got a little bit of sparkles, but it's not as bad as I thought it would be. Anyway, thank you for the reminder to hydrate, Brant. And
Everybody hydrate. Everybody watching right now, grab a glass of water. You need it.
I love it, by the way. So I've got myself mirrored on the stream, so you can see that Heartland is written backwards on my thing. Anyway, what am I talking about? Let's get out of here. So our next stream is going to be on September 19th. That's only 1 week away. We're off the normal schedule because of Labor Day this month. So pay attention to that. Joe Swarner is going to be bringing in some special guests from the community. So I'm looking forward to that. You should all look forward to that too. And we'll get out of here.
All right.
In 20 seconds.
Peace out, y'all.
An awkward 20
This
seconds.
is an awkward 20 seconds. I should just vomit this entire time.
No,
Please don't do that.
that wouldn't be cool, Geoffrey.
It would be like ASMR or something, right?